Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles. I am Donnie, your host, and with me is a man that says the closest he's ever gotten to murder is holding cookies under the milk until the bubbles stop. What's up, Dale?
What's going on, man? Yeah, sometimes you just got to choke them out, you know.
Oh, yeah, make the cookies swell up just like the body.
Yeah, make that belly get bigger.
That's it. What's going on, dude?
Oh, nothing there. Getting ready for these holiday times. See what's going on, the rush and craziness.
Yep, that's it. And it's Christmas time. It is here, man. It is on us.
It is on us.
What's going on? You got any shout-outs for us this week, dude?
We got a few. I'd like to give a little shout-out to Sharon and Loopy Newhouse in England over there. I'd like to say, hey, thanks, and
hey,
appreciate
what's up,
you
girl?
listening, guys. And to our buddy Stick Elliott. Man, I really appreciate the comments you left us on Facebook. That was pretty cool.
All right. Hey, Stick, stay skinny, man.
And to another shout I'd like to give to our old buddy Sandy Carlton from Big Sound Small Town, who kind of really give us the idea to check this episode out that we're going to do for you today, because it's a pretty wild story, and he was actually neighbors with these people back in '72. Lived down the road from them, and
so he remembers when all this took place.
Yeah,
he remembers
yeah, it was pretty wild, actually.
Well, Sandy, thank you for turning us on to this episode and giving us the idea for it.
Damn right. That's cool. We're going to get into this, and before we get into it, I'll just go ahead and say, make sure you guys check out his podcast too, because it's really good, and we're going to be doing some stuff together probably before long anyway, and he's a good guy. Check it out.
All right. Okay, Dale. This episode is episode number 26.
26.
The Durham Family Murders. And this takes place in Boone, North Carolina in 1972. Now, Bryce Durham, he was the father of this family of four. He had a wife, Virginia, a son named Bobby Joe, and a daughter named Jenny. But you don't hear too many kids named Bobby Joe anymore, do you?
No.
No, you don't. All right.
You really don't hear many people named Bryce from that area either, you know.
No, you don't. That's like a modern.
Yeah, I guess the first person I heard Bryce was Bryce Lee around here. Anyway.
Yeah.
The guy running up the road with a 350 engine block on his back.
Yeah, but this was 1972, and he was 51 at the time, so, he was, that was a pretty unique name.
Right. You know, Bobby Joe was 19, I think, right?
Yeah.
And the daughter was what?
20.
She was 20, okay.
And Virginia, I think she was about 9 years younger than Bryce.
She was 44 at this time, I believe.
Yeah. All right. They were originally from Wilkes County, North Carolina. And they moved to Mount Airy, North Carolina, where Bryce was in the car loan business.
Mount Airy.
Mount Airy, yes, Andy Griffin country. Andy Griffin country. All right. But then in 1969, they moved to Boone, where Bryce opened up a Buick dealership. And this is something he'd always wanted to do. This was like a dream of his, to have a car dealership. And it had been reported that there was a former trial judge named Phil Ginn. I'm pretty sure that's how you say his last name.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. He made the comment one time about Bryce that, he just kind of showed up there one day, him and his family. And nobody knew much about the family. They sort of kept themselves kind of private. But everything that I've read, Dale, and heard, and podcasts I've listened to on this, that he was a pretty honest man.
Yeah, seemed to be.
Bryce,
I've seen, yeah.
He was straight up in his dealings. He didn't have any known enemies or anything like that.
Right.
All right, Dale, we're going to get into February the 3rd, 1972.
Now, did they come to Boone because the kids were going to App State? Is that why they all moved?
To
be there so everybody would be close? And
I don't know. I know Bryce was a graduate there. He had a degree in athletic education.
Yeah.
And that could have been why, but
I think there's something to maybe Bobby Joe was going when he going there, and
Bobby Joe was going there,
and Jenny had dropped out.
Yeah, Jenny was going there, but had dropped out.
Right.
But we're going to talk about that stuff a little bit later.
I was just trying to put together why they would move from.
But that's a good point. I didn't think about why they went to.
They could all
Boone.
be together, right?
Yeah. Now this Phil Ginn, who was a former trial judge, he was at the time he was a close friend of Bobby Joe, the son. And the night of the murders, he was supposed to meet him at an Appalachian State University basketball game.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Now, like we said, this was February the 3rd, 1972, and it was a Thursday. And around 3 p.m. that day, Dale, it started snowing.
Yeah, it was forecast was pretty bleak that night. It's supposed to be up to 40-mile-an-hour winds and heavy snow, blizzard-like conditions.
Yeah, and the temperature was supposed to be sub-zero temperatures. So it was going to be cold. It was going to be treacherous. Roads were going to be bad.
Frozen over quick.
Yeah. The Durham family, they lived in Boone for about 18 months before all this happened. So they hadn't been there long. So,
year and a half, yeah.
Yeah, they probably met some people or, they probably didn't have a lot of friends. Being somewhere 18 months. I went to college at East Carolina, and I lived there 5 years, and even after 5 years, I didn't know a lot of people.
Right.
I had a few friends
circle of hang out folks.
Pretty much, yeah. I had just a few friends that, today I still stay in touch with, but I can't imagine just 18 months how many people, what kind of circle you would have had.
Well, if you're a car dealership, you'll know a few more people than if you're just going to school,
This is true.
It's kind of networking, and that's probably why he was in the Rotary Club and that kind of thing, and probably a little social. I mean, there was no social media, so you can do it yourself.
Pretty much, yeah.
But my dad, being a car dealer, most of his life, they pretty much you get your certain clients and stuff, you build them pretty quick, and if you're a good person, they're going to come back.
Mm-hmm. All right, like we said, it was snowing that day. It was pretty treacherous.
Yeah.
But also, Bryce had a Rotary Club meeting.
Yeah.
That day, it'd been scheduled, and this was up at Appalachian Ski Mountain, which was in Blowing Rock. Right. It's not too far from Boone, but close enough. And everything I've heard too, that there weren't many Rotary or Rotarians. I think that's what they were called. Ooh. Rotarians.
Fancy.
Yeah. It was maybe a dozen or less members that had shown up that night.
Yeah, it's probably pretty thin, being the weather was like it was.
But one of the reasons that Bryce went was that the Green Berets were going to be there. They were in the area, and they were going to do a demonstration, some type of military or something. I don't know exactly what it was.
I read it was like a demonstration of military skiing prowess. Whatever that is.
Prowess.
Sounded fancy.
It's a fancy word. I don't think I've ever said the word prowess, at least in a way I'm comfortable with. Anyway,
well, you have now.
That's it. Prowess. All right, but he did go to the Appalachian Ski Mountain to see the Green Berets do their thing, and they left.
Yeah, they kind of cut it off short, I think, when the weather started getting really bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Virginia Durham was working late at the dealership, but now all the authorities and the police there believe that the parents had told their son, Bobby Joe, who was a student at the time, like we said, at Appalachian State, to meet them there to ride home because of the weather.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted them going to the ball game.
No, they wasn't going to the ball game at all. So they'd had a new vehicle come in the shop that day, and it was a GMC Jimmy.
Yep.
Bryce had told one of the employees to get it ready, because I think this is a four-wheel drive vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And to get it ready so he could drive it home to be able to get his family home, because the roads were getting pretty bad. They were getting worse as the day went on.
Yeah.
And
four-wheel drive is, they ain't never going to hurt.
Yeah. And their home was up a steep road.
Right.
Even their driveway. I've seen pictures of this online. We're going to post pictures of this on all of our social media, but their driveway was up a hill too. So, to get to their home, it was going to take a four-wheel drive, especially in all this snow.
Yeah, well, once he got the vehicle gassed up, and I don't know, I read that it was a new one, and then I also read that it was a trade-in, and then he gassed it up, and I guess that's kind of irrelevant at the point, but it was a modern Buick Pontiac, so maybe it was Pontiac GMC, so it could be new, but I guess that's kind of irrelevant. Anyway, he got it gassed up because he wanted to take the four-wheel drive vehicle, and he actually took one of his salesmen home and made sure he got home safely, and then came back to pick up his family. And I think about 8:15 is when he come back to pick up Virginia and Bobby Joe at the dealership and get ready to go home.
But now, Dale, during this afternoon time, their daughter Jenny was at Appalachian State. She had a job. She was working there on campus.
Okay.
And she had called for Bryce, her dad, to come and pick her up.
Yes.
And she was going to call her husband, Troy. See, she was married to Troy Hall. But they weren't living with the Durhams. They lived about 4 miles away in a trailer park called Greenway Village. Greenway Village. But if you look at this online, it's near the Walmart in Boone, and it's just right up the street, but it's called Greenway Commons now, and there's a bunch of apartments and condominiums there, I think, now.
Yeah, a little late for trailer park there.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But she had called her dad because Troy it had been reported in the newspaper at the time that even she had said that he had the flu and didn't want him getting out. So her dad went to get her.
Right.
Yeah. And during this time, they had a conversation. And I think, from what I heard, Dale, that Bryce and Virginia, the parents, weren't too happy with her marriage to Troy.
No, because basically I think she dropped out to be with that. And I don't know if it was so much they didn't like him or they just didn't like the point that she had dropped out of college and he really wanted her, even if she stayed with him, to go back and give it another shot to get her education.
Yeah, but she was working there on campus. But they had a conversation about it. But the report that I'd read, that when he dropped her off at her Greenway Village trailer, everything seemed good.
Yeah.
Bryce seemed to be happy. Everybody was in a good mood. So there weren't any kind of, bad feelings about the conversation.
No, he thought it went well from what I read too.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of contradictory stuff about here, because there's also somewhere else I had read that said that actually Troy had been gone all day at the ASU library, but it didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, there's two. I've read articles too where he was at the library that day, but he just gotten over the flu, and his wife Jenny said he'd been at home with the flu. You sent me this article, and it was from a newspaper in 1972, June of 1972, where she was quoted as saying that Troy had the flu and was home. So,
we'll go with that.
I tend to believe a newspaper article from
hearsay.
Yeah, from them quoting her in 1972. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
That's what I would tend to go along with.
All right, we'll go with that.
After Bryce had dropped his daughter Jenny off,
right,
he went back to the dealership.
Yeah. And
I've read too in this article that the salesman there said he was quoted saying he just went in just to get warm.
Yeah, he's only there long enough to get warm, and then
I guess he was going to tell everybody where he was going, what he was doing, what his plans were,
and then going off to see the Green Berets.
Yeah, he was going to the Rotary Club in Blowing Rock, even though it was snowing and roads were getting bad.
Yes,
that's something I don't understand. I don't understand that.
No.
But if it's me, and I know it's going to be bad. I've been up in that area when it snows. It's rough.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Curvy mountain roads.
Tiny curvy mountain roads.
Tiny. But he went to the Rotary Club. And even a fellow Rotarian later said that after everything was over with and they let him go, he saw Bryce leaving about 6 p.m. And they even followed him back.
Right. Yeah, because he said that it was nice to have that truck in front of him, making a path for him to drive on.
Yeah.
Is what I read.
And plus, he had somebody there in case something happened.
Sure.
They could help
each other out. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Bryce got back to the dealership and got his family, and they returned to their home. They went home, and they lived in a split-level residence, and it was on Clyde Townsend Road, which was on Route 105, right off of Route 105 bypass there in Boone.
Yes.
And we've got pictures of this. We're going to, like I said, post this stuff online so everybody can sort of get an idea of what it looked like at the time. And
pretty nice house, yeah.
Yeah, it was a split-level home with a 2-car garage. And pretty nice house.
Yeah.
To be a car dealership owner. Pretty nice.
Doing well in 72.
Absolutely. Now, the 3 Durhams, like we said, Bryce, Virginia, and Bobby Joe, their son, left the dealership together after he got back from Blowing Rock. And the trip to their home was just a few miles, but they said it probably took them anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes.
Correct, yep.
Yeah, because the roads being so bad.
About 9 p.m., neighbors see that Jimmy crest the hill going into the Durham's house. So they had heard it coming up the hill, and then so they made it home right around 9 o'clock.
And around 10:30 that night, Jenny and Troy, they were at their trailer, which, like we said, was about 4 miles away. They were at home, and they were watching TV, but they said that it could have been the snow, could have been the weather, cut the TV out.
Right.
Could have.
I knocked the cable out or something.
Did they have cable back then in 72?
I don't know. I was just going with it.
Okay.
Something happened. The TV went out and they had to listen to it. And I first heard records, and then I also saw they were listening to their playback tape machine. So whatever they were grooving on.
Yeah, exactly. Now, it's around, like we said, around 10:30 that night, the phone rang at Jenny and Troy Hall's trailer. And Troy answered the phone. because he knew it was about that time because they were watching TV, because they were watching the Winter Olympics.
Right.
And they'd watched it for about 10 minutes when the TV quit working, like we said. And phone rang. Troy answered the phone. And he remembers saying, "Virginia, is that you?" Because the voice was muffled on the line. And she had told him that there were 3 black men in the home. And they had Bryce and Bobby Joe in the back room.
Right.
And then the phone went dead. Silent. And Troy told Jenny about this, and she sort of looked dumbfounded in a way from what he had said. And he even asked her that if she was a practical joker.
Right. And she said, "Well, what did she say?"
And he told her what she'd said.
He tried to call back right away, and it was nothing. Just
the phone was dead.
It was just dead. Yeah.
The phone was dead. So they got panicked.
Which I guess would be a busy signal back then, and which if you don't have a landline, you have no idea what that is.
Yeah. It would just, I guess it would be busy then. Yeah. So they panicked, and they were going to head over there to see what was going on. Even though the roads were bad, they got out, went to their vehicle to go over there, but their vehicle would not crank.
Right.
I don't know if it was the cold or what, but their vehicle wouldn't start.
Yeah, it said that already had snow had already blown up about halfway up in the tires from the wind blowing and stuff and cold, and it was, like you said, freezing temperatures and down in sub-zero. And so it said that when you tried to start it, it just turned over several times, and then it just started clicking, like the battery's dead, and pulled his lights on, and it just went straight dead. So the battery was just dead from the cold.
Yeah. Now, they had a neighbor named Cecil Lee Small. Now, Small he's deceased now, but at the time he was a private investigator. And I guess they'd gotten to be friends with him and everything, and he agreed to take them to the Durham's home.
Yeah, I also read that he was kind of the overseer of the trailer park too, but
okay,
don't really.
I didn't hear that, but yeah,
like the manager, I guess.
Yeah. Now, a little side note that a little segue into something else about Cecil Small. Now, I've heard this, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Mountain Murder Podcast. They had reported, and I learned this from them, that Cecil Small was in Dallas, Texas at the time when Kennedy was assassinated. And there's a report that he had made where he saw Lee Harvey Oswald standing outside of the book depository at the time of the Kennedy assassination. So that's a little segue. Maybe we can do something on a little bit later.
Right.
But yeah, he was in Dallas at the time. But getting back to our story, Cecil Small took Jenny and Troy to the Durham's home. They got there, but his vehicle wouldn't get up the road.
Right.
It was
up the driveway.
I think it was up the driveway.
Okay. Yeah.
I think when it wouldn't get up the driveway. I've seen pictures of it, and it's an uphill curved driveway, so it probably wouldn't have made it up there.
So they still never called the cops, right?
They didn't
call them even then when they went to find Cecil. They didn't say anything.
No,
about it. It was just
everything I read, they didn't call the cops.
Okay, and Cecil grabbed his gun before he left. I remember.
Yeah,
everybody has a revolver. We're taking it with him.
All right. Now, when they got to the home, Troy and Cecil went to the home. They left Jenny in the car, which is, how crazy is that? If you think something's happened, why are you going to leave somebody alone in the car?
Right. That was the first thing I thought of too.
But I don't know. They left Jenny in the car.
You stay here.
Yeah.
We're taking the gun and going up there.
Yeah, you stay here by yourself. Lock the door. All right. Now, when they got up to the home, the lights were on inside, but they couldn't get in.
Right.
They could see lights on. They were able to get in through a garage door that wouldn't go all the way down. Something had malfunctioned on this garage door.
Yeah, they did knock on the front door, right? Couldn't get in. They went around the back and beat on the kitchen door and couldn't get in. And that's when Cecil kind of lifted up Troy. And he peeped in the window and said it looked like it had been ransacked.
Yeah.
And that's when he remembered or went around to check the garage door.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they were able to get in through the garage door, through the bottom. They was able to lift it up.
No.
All right. They get into the house, and they hear the TV on.
Right.
And the house, like we said, is torn up. Everything is just jacked up, Dale.
It's all in shambles.
Yeah. They noticed on the table that drinks had been poured, food was on the table, some chicken was there that had been eaten on.
Right.
Some food. So they had a late night snack.
Mm-hmm.
And they, I guess, didn't think anything was going on.
Well, they probably was going to watch Olympics too.
Yeah.
And they got home late and had it on that it was like an upholstered bench that, I'm assuming Bobby Joe was probably sitting there because of those cards. They said that he had swore he was going to beat solitaire, and you can see the cards from the photos of that picture of that bench. So I'm assuming that's where he was sitting.
It was about this time they heard water dripping.
Yeah.
And didn't they notice some blood splatter?
Yeah, there was some little bit of blood, and it just depends on which place you're from. We don't know how big the pool of blood was. One said spots, another one said some puddles, but it was coagulated blood. Is that pronounced right?
Yeah.
But they saw that, heard the TV on, nobody's there, and then that's when Cecil told Troy to be quiet a second. He said, "Do you hear that?" And he goes, "What?" He said, "I hear water. It's water running or water dripping." And so they went down the hall to check it out. Thought maybe it was a sink running over or something, and that's when they went down to see the bathroom and see if they could figure out what was going on.
Yeah, when they got into the bathroom, Dale, it was the most, I guess, horrific sight you could ever see or witness.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a sink.
It was pretty bad. The 3 family members that were at the home, Bryce, Virginia, and Bobby Joe, were bent over side by side with their heads down in a tub full of water.
Right.
But now, this is what baffles me. They heard water dripping, but the water wasn't on. What the water was doing was going into the overflow drain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't running into the floor or nothing. There's no water on the floor at all, not a drop.
That's what baffles me too, because there was no sign of struggle with them. You know, you'd think if you was trying to drown somebody, had their head in water, they would be water splash.
Yeah, he's full-grown people. And they said that Bobby Joe was a pretty big fella. He was well-fit, 19-year-old kid,
Mm-hmm. Eagle Scout, too.
Yeah.
So he was a big dude, athletic.
Right.
So he would have...
You'd think you're going to fight back.
Yeah. But no water on the floor at all. And like I said, the water was up to the overflow, so it was going down the overflow drain.
Right, so the tub was pretty full when it started, and then they pushed them all in there, which would push the water level up over the overflow.
Yeah.
And then we had heard that their hands had been tied behind their back, but from the photo we found, it looks like their hands are kind of tied together.
We have a photo, and we are debating on whether to post this on our social media, but it does look like that one of the victims and Mrs. Durham hands are tied together.
Right.
But their own personal hands aren't tied together. It's just like they're tied to each other.
Yeah, it's like the photo is like from behind, so you can just see the bent over to the water, and the two that are on the left hand. The very left hand person, his right hand and the left hand of the person next to him are tied together, and then you can't see the other one because one has on a jacket and then the other hands are not visible.
Mm-hmm. Now, at this time, Troy Hall and Cecil Small went to a nearby house and called police. And when the police arrived, I mean, they said there was a lot of police showed up. It wasn't just because they had never. The town of Boone is pretty small. You got App State there, but it's not a big town at all.
Right.
And this had been one of the most horrific murders that they had seen.
Right. Now, one account said I had heard that they both went back to the car to try to drive away because they were just trying to get out of the scene. But then it kind of got stuck, so that's when they ran to the neighbors. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah. But they did go to the neighbors, and they called the authorities. And when they arrived, they found the 3 bodies all across the lip of the tub, and water was running and overflowing into the drain.
So the water was running?
According to this document, the water was running. But
so that would explain why it's easier for them to hear the water running instead of just dripping down the overflow.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, even if it was would you hear water going into the overflow if the water wasn't running? You'd think you would hear water.
Would, but the TV was on.
Yeah.
And the TV's on probably because that's not going to be very loud now if the water is actually running. But, so if the water's running, then it's going to fill up faster than the overflow can drain it out. So how long has it been on?
There's no telling. I mean, you'd think it took him a while to get to the house. So water had been running for a while.
Right.
That's very interesting.
So we really don't know how much water was in the tub at the point of when they put the heads in the water.
Yeah.
Could have been just enough to get them in there, and then they just left it running.
Yeah.
So you would think that they were unconscious when they put them over the tub that way. It was such a sinister way to do it, man.
They had to have been unconscious because there was no water anywhere. But now, Bryce and Bobby Joe were the only ones that were drowned. They had ligatures around their neck, like they'd been choked.
So they choked them out and then put them into the water.
Yeah, because they had even had burn marks on their neck. But now Jenny, the wife, not Jenny, Virginia, the mother, she had not been drowned. There was no water in her lungs at all.
So she was dead when they put her in.
Yeah. She had been choked out, I guess.
So maybe that's why you couldn't see if their hands were tied. There wasn't no need.
Yeah.
Which is still hard to tell from that photo. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, the 4-wheel drive Jimmy that they had borrowed from the dealership, to be able to get around when in the snow, was gone. Nowhere to be found at the home. That Jimmy was found abandoned about a mile away on Poplar Grove Road. The lights were on, the wipers were slapping, the doors were closed, and the motor was still running.
Right.
So somebody had took that vehicle from the Durhams and drove it off and bailed.
Yep. Said it was like a pillowcase full of silver and stuff found in the back seat.
Silverware, yeah.
Yeah, like they were stealing it. So it was like a robbery, but was it really a robbery? Yeah,
because in the home they had found like one of those bags you get from the bank that's got the little zipper.
Like a deposit bag.
Yeah. They had found that in the house. It was full of money.
From the dealership?
Yeah, from the dealership. And you'd think if it was a robbery, and it was found right there in the floor.
Even very intellectual robbers would know that a deposit bag would probably be worth at least picking up and checking it.
Exactly. But it was left there in the floor.
Right.
So
and they said that a lot of other highly valuable items were left there too.
So that makes you wonder what the motive was to murder these 3 people.
So back to the trucks. It's in the ditch, so it's abandoned, and then said there were some tracks behind it that would show that basically they all bailed and got in another vehicle and left. So the other vehicle was probably following it at the time.
Yep.
So in that article that I sent you, it said that they were thinking that there was a cul-de-sac somewhere down behind this house.
The Durham's home?
Yeah, where they could stash the getaway car and then walk up behind it. And so I guess when they got up in there, they just decided to go ahead and take their truck too and get out of there.
Could very, very well be.
And then whoever makes, so you would say at least there's more than one person.
Do you think that taking the Jimmy was just like a spare of the moment thing? Hey, this is 4-wheel drive. Let's take this.
Probably.
We can get away with this.
Wow, this condition's getting bad because they said that they really didn't even see tracks or footprints around the house, but yet they found tracks in the road where the car was there. So that's kind of weird to me.
It's almost, the snow and everything almost reminds me of the Dino Bravo episode we did.
Yeah.
When there was no tracks going to the house or coming from the house, almost like they were in the house to begin with.
Right. I mean, we don't have a lot of snow here, but we had snow before, and it would have to be really putting it down to disappear, to cover any tracks, any and all tracks, in and out of the house or around the house, especially if people were coming up from across a field. Because that said that they would have to come up and like jump a fence and go through a field. I'm assuming it's like a pasture.
Yeah.
And then come in that back way. There would be tracks somewhere, or you would think.
You'd think,
because it wasn't that much time before they got there to see the house and find the bodies, and when the police got there.
Yep.
But then again, they did send like 12 cars full of people, so if they were tracks and they all went ambushed into the house, they probably could have destroyed a lot of. I guess the crime scene wasn't preserved very well.
No, because you had a ton of cops showing up.
Right. And at the moment, I'm sure they were just thinking, what the hell's going on? We got to get in there.
And like we said, there was valuable stuff in the house. Bryce had even been known to have a valuable collection of guns. None of those were found. Silver serving platters were still there, valuables. A lot of stuff there. But nothing of that was taken, just some silverware in a pillowcase.
So you reckon that they got their guns, they took them with them, then they just left other stuff in the car, probably trying to hurry up and get out and get in the other car and get away?
Yeah, pretty much. It could have been a botched robbery.
Yeah.
But why, on the worst weather conditions. You know, unless this was planned way in advance, and are we still doing this? You know, are we going to carry through with this?
Right. And maybe it was somebody who knew him and knew he was going to that thing at the Rotary Club. And then when they got shortened and everybody got home from this thing, they got home a little bit earlier than anyone expected.
Now, there's one theory on this that Bryce knew of some car dealers in Boone that were doing some shady dealing. They were rolling back the miles on vehicles.
Yeah, changing the odometer readings.
Yeah, and changing titles and things. And he was aware of this and was threatening to go to the police. Because, like we said, Bryce was a pretty honest man. He dealt with people in an honest way, and that's just the way he believed.
Right.
And he threatened to go to the police on this because this was affecting his business too.
Yes.
And there is a theory out there that this syndicate of people,
so it could have been like a hit, you think?
Yeah, was going to take him out.
Yeah, because even if it's a robbery, even if it's a botched robbery, who's going to take the time to tie him up and run a bathtub full of water?
Mm-hmm. I
don't know. That's just odd to me that would even come across as the way you want to take someone out. You know,
mm-hmm.
Even if it's a robbery, I don't know. It's just strange.
Now,
who would even think of that?
Really?
I mean, I know it ain't funny, but it's like
there's another theory too that's way out there, but you know, like we said, the Green Berets were in town,
right?
And they were doing a demonstration at Ski Mountain, and there is a theory that they did this as a training exercise to, I don't know.
Yeah, I said no, that's what I read too. But it was like the way they were killed. Some people were being killed in Vietnam or something. And
it was almost like a military type kill.
Yeah.
The way it was staged.
In and out, clean.
Yep, and the way things were strode about the house looked almost like it was done on purpose.
Yeah, there's a picture of that ottoman that I was talking about, or a bench, and it looks like there's an ottoman thrown across it, like the room was just ransacked, but yet there's a drink sitting on that, and it's tilted a little bit, but it's like it never got knocked over, so it's like it was kind of placed there. It
mm-hmm.
looks to me like the ottoman was placed on top of the bench to make it look like stuff was strewn around. But what reason would the Green Berets have to come in and kill citizens?
It don't make any sense.
It doesn't make much sense at all.
No, it doesn't.
But it is a theory that's out there.
Yeah. There's also a theory too that Troy Hall, the son-in-law, was involved with this. And I don't know why he would have wanted to murder his in-laws. But there is a theory out there that he was behind this.
Well, if it takes them all out, then Jenny's the sole heir.
Yeah.
And they didn't like him anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a student at Appalachian State University. And the Durhams weren't real well off, but they had a little bit of money and they had a good life insurance policy. And I think what Jenny got out of it in 1972 was about $200,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know I hadn't converted that to today's money, but
I seen it was a little over $1 million and a half. So it was like 250,000 or something, but it was somewhere, and I'd heard that it was somewhere a little over $1 million today.
So that's a pretty good chunk of change.
Yeah. But
and there's been a lot of people killed over less.
Yeah.
So
you think Jenny would have been in on it too?
I don't think she was. I don't think she was. Mm-mm.
Yeah, to me, it kind of looks like that the son-in-law would have something to do with it, because nothing else even makes any kind of sense.
Yeah. There's an interview I read with the former sheriff there in Boone, and he had even said that he doesn't believe that the phone call
even
happened, the one from Virginia to the Hall trailer.
That's what I want to know, too. I would like to know if Jenny actually heard the phone ring, or they're playing music and he just grabs the phone up and acts like he answered. Yeah. I would like to know that myself. I thought about that as soon as we started checking into this story. I'm like, did the phone call actually even happen? And because that's strange, and then you go out and then your car doesn't crank,
mm-hmm.
and that's another weird thing that just gives more time for whatever's going on, and then I don't know, it's just weird.
And then he calls back knowing that the phone is dead and say, here, look, it's dead. Listen, it's dead.
Right.
That's a very good possibility there.
It's all weird.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I really don't think the dude did it himself, but he may have had it done or
that's pretty sketchy.
Promised somebody a lot of guns and money and stuff if they could. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty sketchy. I do know that Jenny and Troy divorced.
Yeah.
A few years after all this. Yeah. And he went on to become an attorney and a construction business owner.
Right. He's in Georgia now, right?
Lawrenceville, Georgia. Mm-hmm. He has a law practice down there. I even looked up his website and found his law firm.
Yeah, okay, so I ain't saying you done it, Troy. I'm just saying it kind of looks that way.
You look sketchy, dude.
Yeah.
By the way, we live in
Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska.
Corn-fed Alaska.
Yep. Out. We don't have any internet out there, dude. But anyway, it does look pretty sketchy to me that Troy could have had something to do with this.
Yeah.
And I know Jenny, she remarried, and she married a guy named Steve Mackey. And they even moved to Washington State.
Yeah, it looks like she wanted to get away.
As far away as she could.
That's about as far as you can go.
And I've heard that she still has a home in the area, around Boone or Elkin or somewhere, that she comes back and visits every now and then. And Steve Mackey, her current husband, said it's even tough today on the anniversary of these murders, you know, having to, you know, deal with Jenny and what she has to go through every year around this time.
Yeah, it would be very, very hard. I mean, just think about it. But I don't know, it was kind of strange that it kind of goes back to them making her stay in the car. Like he already knew,
yeah,
you know, what was going on. You stay here, we're going to go check it out. Being dude with a gun, what's his name?
Cecil Small.
Yeah, me and Cecil's going to go check this out. You stay in the car. It's kind of like, I don't know. If you're going to your parents' house, would you not just like the hell with that? I'm going,
yeah.
You know.
Oh, she had to be freaking out.
Yeah. Sitting in, and then, like, do they come out? Do they go back to the car? Or do they just run straight to the neighbors? Do they even go tell her what's going on?
I'm sure they went back and told her.
So, oh, God. So how do you do that?
I don't know. It'd be almost, would it have been better for her just to go in the house?
Right. And accidentally find it like the rest of them.
Yeah.
That's with air quotes.
Yeah. That's really, really strange. I'm sorry, Troy, but you look very sketchy in my eyes. But
yeah, I hope you wasn't in on it, but it sure looks like it.
Yeah. Now, Dale, 40 years ago, there was a Boone native named Rufus Edmiston. He was a lawyer at the time, and he was on the staff for Senator Sam Ervin, who became famous for the Watergate hearings. And he had heard about the killings in his hometown, and Edmiston had called Sheriff Carroll, who told him, "We got us a biggin."
A biggin.
Yeah. And that's Southern talk for you, a biggin. And after Edmiston, you know, became deputy chief counsel for Ervin during the Watergate hearings, he was elected to the North Carolina Attorney General in 1974. And he had made this case a top priority for the State Bureau of Investigation. And he had even talked to Jenny several times over the years, several times a month, talking about this case, even any updates. Now, Edmiston now works for a law firm in Raleigh, and he spent more personal time on the Durham case than any other during his career. And he said this is more baffling than any other.
Yeah, right. Even when he was with the SBI, he even would assign agents to the case that had no knowledge of it whatsoever, just to see if they could find something looking at it with the fresh eyes. Mm-hmm. So he was really thinking outside the box on that. Now,
Bryce Durham, his parents were still alive at the time, and they died without ever knowing who'd killed their son and their daughter-in-law and grandson. Mm. So that's pretty sad. All right, Dale, you got any more comments on this? Because this case went cold. They still today, it's unsolved.
Yeah, I don't know. It just blows my mind. I don't know. It's just a weird night for something to happen. There's a lot of weird coincidences. I don't know. Was he home? Was he not home? Did he get a phone call while wasn't the car crank? I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, why did they kill him?
Yeah.
Why did they not rob? Why didn't they take the money if it was a robbery?
Now, like we said, medical examinations later determined the presence of rope burns around all their necks, all the victims' necks. And an autopsy revealed that Virginia had died of strangulation and that her son and husband were strangled before being drowned in the tub of running water. So, yeah.
So I was wondering, where did the blood come from? Because there's no talk of that.
There's no talk of that in the autopsy report.
Nothing. And then in that article that we found, it said that at the time of this writing of this article, now this article came out in June.
Yeah.
It's the same year. Like
June of 72.
The murder was in February, and this article came out in June.
So you're looking 5 months.
Right. And it said that at the writing of this article, several new investigative details have been made public. Bullet holes has been found that were, or had been confirmed, were actually found inside the Durham home. And an empty bread box in the basement of the Durham home, quote, may have contained something valuable, quote, unquote, before the house was burglarized. So they did find some bullet holes. They never say anything about anybody that had been shot.
Nobody had been shot, according to the autopsy.
Where did the blood come from? Now, maybe one of the assailants?
Could very well be. I don't know.
If he had a collection of guns, maybe he could have got to the gun. But if he got the gun and then they got the wife and they got a rope around the neck, he's going to give it up. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So you don't really know what happened. But I asked you earlier, that's like where I was thinking when they found the pools of blood, no matter how big they were, none of these three people, they said, had any wounds that would have caused that.
No wounds like that.
So that's kind of odd too, even especially when the evidence has been made public.
Yep.
The bullet holes in the walls now didn't say somebody had been shot, but a gun had went off at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. According to this newspaper article from 72.
Right.
Yeah. What gets me, the Durhams hadn't been in Watauga County that long, and they didn't really have a big network of people. So that just blows my mind, Dale.
It's just strange, yeah. Yeah, the article was Boone, North Carolina, June 30th, 1972, just to give credit. The article was entitled The Wildest Day in Daniel Boone Country, and it was an article by J. Edmond. I guess I'm saying that right. It is J-Y Edmond, E-T-T-M-A-N.
All right, Dale. There were prints found in the house, and every so often they run these prints against prints that come into...
How many sets of prints, to say?
Just one. And they don't know if it's a fingerprint or a palm print. They haven't been able to determine this. It's a partial.
So it's a partial.
It's a partial print. But they do run it against...
database every now and again?
Every now and then to see if anything comes in, and nothing has came in on this print.
What about the blood? Did they get any DNA out of that?
Not that I know of.
Of course, this is 72, so...
Yeah. And getting back to the phone call, Troy said that Virginia told him there were 3 black men
right
in the house that had Bryce and Bobby Joe in the back room. If there was any kind of struggle, you'd think they would have found hair fiber.
Yeah.
Or something. But there was no African American hair found in the home.
Yeah, it just come like, did the phone call actually happen?
Yeah.
And then why would you blame it on the black guy?
Yeah, I've seen too many reports being blamed on black guys.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make any sense. All right, Dale, any last words before we get out of here on this case?
No, it's a pretty good case, pretty good story. It's a sad ending. Appreciate Sandy turning us on to it.
Oh, yeah, I've been researching it, and I've been intrigued by it ever since. Pretty amazing story.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about it until Sandy mentioned it.
Right. And he just lived down the street. That's what he did. As a matter of fact, he just told me that yesterday. He remembered it being an extremely cold day, and there was so much snow. And he just woke up and just remembered all the cops that down there that day. And he was looking forward to hearing what we come up with on this. And I hope you enjoyed the episode here.
I hope we do it justice for you, Sandy.
Right. So, yeah, other than that, I don't know, man. It blows my mind. There's still cold. Nobody knows anything, but it's all over the place. So where would they even start from?
Yeah.
I mean, There's not very much to go on.
47 years ago.
Right. Stuff thrown everywhere. Some stuff not taken. Took the car, wrecked it on the side of the road. Took their own car and left. So was that just another diversion just to get them off the property quicker?
Could have been. All right, Dale. We're going to get out of here. We want everyone to be safe, be careful, and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the Crack House Chronicles.